So radioactivity was discovered in 1896 by Antoine-Henri Becquerel. And I would encourage you to read the story in the textbook because they do it better than I'm going to do it right now. But he was looking at phosphorescence. And this is a natural occurrence. I've seen it in person as like a rotting stump in the woods. And you see it at night, and it's like glowing green. And you're like, what the heck, right? What's going on here? That's phosphorescence. And so he was trying to figure out what this was. And so he thought that this would be, that this was associated with the emission of X-rays. X-rays are invisible. So what he did is he took potassium uranyl sulfate crystals and exposed them to the sunlight and then placed them on a photographic plate that was covered with a black cloth. Because the photographic plate, if exposed to the light, would change. It would be exposed. And what he saw was a dark exposure spot where the crystals had been. So this is the dark spot on the photographic plate. And that was through a piece of fabric. So it wasn't the light, it was something else. So he thought his hypothesis was correct. He presented his results to the French Academy of the Sciences. He's like, yep, phosphorescence and X-rays, same thing basically. He later had to retract his results because he found out that a dark exposure spot formed even when the crystals had not been exposed to light and were not phosphorescing. So he thought that greenish glow was what was causing the plate to turn dark. But I think how this happened is he just had this stuff sitting in a drawer, right? And it wasn't phosphorescing because it hadn't been exposed to light. There's dark crystals sitting here on a dark drawer, and they caused dark spots on the film as well. So obviously something else was going on. He figured the crystals themselves must be emitting something. So he called these uranic rays, because uranium was the main metal in these crystals. Marie Curie, you've probably all heard of. She was one of the first women in France to pursue doctoral work. Back then, it was very uncommon for women to study science at all, but she was working on her doctorate. She discovered two new elements. What she was trying to do is find other elements that also emitted these uranic rays. So those two new elements she discovered were polonium and radium. Polonium she named for her home country of Poland, and radium was named because of its high level of radioactivity. Now in cartoons and other silly TV shows, they talk about radioactivity and how things glow in the dark when they're radioactive, right? Well, that comes from radium. Radium does glow in the dark. And so they used to make watch dials like this, where the numbers and the hands on the watch glowed in the dark. And they did that by using a uranium paint. Is this a good idea? No. Lots of people walked around with radioactive things tied to their wrists. They don't do that anymore. Marie Curie changed the name of uranic rays to radioactivity because she found that they were not limited to uranium. Radium also was radioactive and numerous other elements. 1903, the Nobel Prize in Physics was shared by Becquerel, Marie Curie, and Pierre Curie, who was her husband, for the discovery of radioactivity. And then again, in 1911, she received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the discovery of polonium and radium. So that's quite an achievement to receive two Nobel Prizes. And this is a picture of her with her children.